Good morning, everyone. This is Julie of Microcom Technologies, and I'd like to thank all of you for attending our with Netgear. Today's host is our very good friend, Jordan Cooper, and he is their key strategic account manager, and he'll be presenting today. If anyone has any questions, please submit them in the question box so that Jordan can answer them at the end of today's presentation. Jordan, thank you so much for being with us again today. We're very happy to have you as always. Looking forward to what you have to share with us. I am finished for now, so please go ahead and take it on over.
Thanks so much, Julie. Yeah, good morning, everybody. I'm Jordan Cooper, Key Strategic Account Manager here at Netgear. And guys, I'm thrilled to be here today as all of my presentations that I've done in the past have always been talking about a product focus. We've talked about our Insight, we've done presentations about our Orbi, we've talked about our switches and our access points and Wi-Fi 6 and Wi-Fi 7. But one thing that dawned on me that we haven't talked about is really just the good old age question of why Netgear. In a lot of my presentations, I take a minute and talk briefly about the Netgear difference and what Netgear does differently versus other guys, but never really talked about all the things that really make Netgear special and why it really fits. And there's been a lot of changes going on in the past 18 months here at Netgear, and so now is really the perfect time to really talk about all the changes that have happened with Netgear and the exciting things that are going on and what the future looks like and why it just makes sense to use Netgear. So before I kind of dive into it, let me give you a little back history over the last 18 months. If you don't know, you'll know now that about 18 months ago, Netgear got a new CEO. Our founder and CEO at that time, Patrick Lowe, he retired early. And we have a new CEO. His name is CJ Prober. The guy's a really great guy, super awesome. He's very much a go-getter. He's ran other companies like Tile and GoPro and making them into the success that they are today. And so when he came on, a lot of changes started happening right away. He recognized a lot of the challenges that Netgear was facing and a lot of the things that we needed to improve upon and things that we needed to expand upon. And he brought in a lot of new people, which was great. Netgear really needed to get out with the old and in with some new people, some new fresh faces, some new people who were ready to run through walls and make significant changes to the company. So that's what was done. And one thing that he immediately identified that we really wanted to expound upon was that Netgear has enterprise grade products built and designed specifically for what we used to say the SMB. We're now really talking about what's called SME, or the small to medium enterprises. And he wanted that to make that a really big focus, was to make sure everybody knows that Netgear does not have products just for the SMEs, but they're enterprise grade. Not just your consumer buy off of Amazon or Best Buy, and really expound upon that. And so you're going to hear me probably mention that word a lot, enterprise, because that's going to be pounded into the brain as we go through this presentation, that I want you to take away with Netgear, knowing that, wow, Netgear really does have enterprise grade products. So as we've got a lot of slides to go over. Some of these I'm just going to kind of blast through. Some of them I'll take some time to kind of read over. But the reality is, guys, 99.9% of businesses in the U.S. are classified as small and medium enterprises. These are sub 500 employees. That's a true stat. You can Google that. And many of them, because of their size, they lack IT, right? And they depend on a lot of people who are probably on this call, the third-party MSPs, for setting up and managing their networks. And those on this call today will know and understand that networks are critical to running these businesses. Gosh, I don't know of a single business in my head that doesn't have any type of networking, and it doesn't use the internet in some form or capacity. They all do, and because they all do, and because of how small they are, they're pretty vulnerable to cybersecurity attacks. SMEs are always have been an easy target for ransomware and phishing, And don't even get me started into the costs associated with those attacks. And they also have a lot of tight and reduced budgets. They can't spend a whole lot. Their dollar really needs to go farther. And this is the challenge that MSPs face. And Netgear, we wanted to really focus on these businesses. That was one thing when we were thinking, well, we got enterprise grade products, should we go after the enterprise market? And it was concluded that no, I mean, why? Why would we, when 99.9% of the businesses in the US classify as an SME? Focus there, focus on what's doing us well. And when we look at the other competitors too, it really comes down to a couple things, right? We got two major shifts or major differences in some companies. You've got one side of these manufacturers that are, maybe over-engineered. They've got a bloated complexity. They're unaffordable with their complex licensing, and then on the other side, you've got these, maybe these wildly solutions like stitched together from fragmented products. They've got the solutions that really don't work well together, and really they just lack that enterprise grade reliability and support. And so Netgear, we always wanted to say we want to be affordable, reliable, and easy to use, and that's always been the case. But we've now kind of shifted that saying, and we wanted to also throw in there that we're enterprise grade. And when we say enterprise grade, a key thing is to know that we've got a completely integrated network and security solutions. Things like with multi-tenant networks, built to be managed by MSPs. And we want to make it simple. We want to make it intuitive and in a simple interface. And when we're talking about simplicity, a really key point, guys, to know is that we are not trying to be everything to everyone. And I feel like that's some cases with some other manufacturers, that they just got so much going on, so many vast different kinds of products, and trying to meet every single business. We're not trying that, because we're focused on solving the problem, those problems that we talked about in the last slide for the SMEs. And we realized, having a list of features like, centralized data planes, those are obviously not needed for SMEs. And so we don't invest in that. You don't need it. It's likely, your customers don't need it. And we want to put money where it makes sense. And then, again, with the affordability, we want to make sure that we don't have this bloated bundle or hidden fees. Essentially, you pay for what you need, not what you don't. Want to make sure that the pricing is scalable for your business model, whether you're doing a per site or per room structure. We want to make sure we're transparent in our pricing model. And you'll never see a required software license or a mandatory service fee, things like that. But you will get powerful and reliable connectivity, without paying the premium for a niche or complex features that, let's be honest, you probably won't use. And by doing this, guys, it empowers you or maybe your IT team to manage the network effectively, without requiring these costly specialized certifications or these extensive online trainings, and we pass those significant savings directly onto you guys. And we operate with lower cost margins that our major competitors, do have. You'll never see Netgear advertising on the Masters or a Super Bowl commercial. Again, ways that we pass on the savings. Now, as we add to your business, the reality for Netgear is we want to make these SMEs, we want to make it for these SMEs to be more efficient, and we want to make the MSPs be more profitable. And by doing so, it's either by being cost conscious or really focusing on AV, and then reducing the cost, right? This is what Netgear always wants to make sure we're doing too. We're reducing the cost for licensing and support, and basically the time spent on the phone and troubleshooting. We want to reduce all that stuff. And by doing both of these things, that's what's going to increase the profitability for you guys out there who are MSPs. We also really know that our support needed a bit of help. You know, at one point in time, it used to be U.S. based, but then sometime down the road, quite a few years ago, Netgear made the decision to maybe move these off to offshore and to other countries like India and Pakistan, and it really started hurting the CSAT, or the customer satisfaction surveys. And CJ realized that, hey, this needs to come back to be in-house. And so for the most part, pretty much all our support is going to be US based. There are going to be some supports that are going to be outside the US, and that's really because it's going to be for either the time zones. You know, there's some people in like Ireland, but then there's also one thing that we really want to focus on too, is since we're a global company, we wanted to make sure that we have, you know, multi-language coverage, that we can operate and have people troubleshooting regardless of whether you're in Canada and maybe you're speaking French Canadian, or if you're in South America speaking Spanish. You know, we want to make sure that we have that type of support. And again, with our 24/7 support, a lot of our warranties are phenomenal lifetime warranties, and our express replacement RMA program. Guys, I can probably say that our CSAT right now is up at 95% total satisfaction. So this just shows that our customers are satisfied. People who use us, whenever they need us, we're there, and they're happy, and we're able to take care of them. This model I'm not going to go too much over, but it's all the things we've kind of talked in the past, that we've got these enterprise grade product portfolios, from our switches, from all the way to our access points and our mobile hotspots, or 5G for failover, you know, all these being cloud manageable. We're great for campuses and headquarters, and you know, whether you're on the go, we're in so many markets, and I've done a lot of little webinars on all of these products. So if you're not familiar with any of these products or don't know much about those, go check out Microcom's YouTube, and you'll see them there. But when it comes time to enterprise, that's another funny thing, that what does enterprise really mean, right? And when we all say enterprise, we all really kind of think of the top tier one guys like the Ciscos and those companies, and they're great and fantastic. But you know, can Netgear really compete if we're qualifying and saying ourselves that we are to enterprise? And the answer is yes. You know, not a lot of people know this stuff, but we've got this proven enterprise grade hardware. Like our MTBF, our mean time between failures on our switches, 79 years. That's crazy, and that's awesome. And that's just to say, wow, that this switch is probably going to outlast the business that you're putting it in. You know, we're able to compete with things like what Meraki does with the Wi-Fi client streaming simultaneously with 50. That tops Meraki. We've got 100% line rate switching, just like Cisco does. We've got energy efficiency stuff, just like Cisco. And we've got our 99.9% uptime on the Insight service availability. Again, what that means, just making sure that it's up 99.9% of the time. There's been none. There's been zero unplanned downtime so far this year with our Insight. And we are the leader in AV over IP, hands down. No one beats us. Again, we've talked about that in the past. We'll talk about that here a little bit in the future too. But we're able to do all this, guys, while, again, making sure that we are affordable, and making sure that when we say affordability, there's no shortcuts, that you're not losing out on anything. Now, if you're familiar with Insight, Netgear has this remote cloud management platform. If you are not familiar with Insight, go check out a video, although I will say stay tuned with Microcom, because, guys, whether you're familiar with it or not, Insight's going to get a little bit of a facelift. And there's been quite a few engineers who've been focused on revamping this, making this even more user-friendly, even more easy to onboard devices and deploy these, and to easily navigate these things. So it's coming, and it's going to be super awesome. We anticipate this to be coming in Q1 of 2026 with this update. So stay tuned for that, but it's getting great. A lot of great things are happening with this too as well. And with AI, there's going to be some AI and automation. I know that's kind of a question that I get a lot, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. Now, the other thing that we've been lacking to say is security. Everybody knows that Netgear didn't really have a super strong security presence. You know, we had it in our basic router with the standard firewall, but it wasn't nothing to write home about until now. You know, Netgear just recently purchased a company, Exium, and these guys are a cloud-based security company, and they do something called SASE, SASE stands for Secure Access Service Edge. Basically, it's a modern way to secure and manage networks, because let's face it, now it's no longer do you need to secure on-prem, but you've got hybrid workers working from home that you need to make sure are secure. You got a lot of things in the cloud that need to make sure are secure. So you're not just securing local and on-prem. And so the SASE does stuff like being able to make sure those remote workers are secure, those multiple locations and cloud-based are also secure. Think of SASE as like a security guard and a traffic controller for your customers' networks. SASE combines a firewall and gateway, and there's a lot to it that we just don't have the time on this call to go over. But just know, guys, that security is now on the forefront of Netgear's mind and is coming out with some great and awesome, wonderful things, both cloud and on-prem stuff. And we're doing just some great and amazing things, that kind of goes into the next side of Netgear's commitment to innovation. What is Netgear doing differently, or what is Netgear doing to make sure that they're staying on top of technology and where the market is going and what the market needs? And of course, that one top of mind that always comes to everyone's mind is, what is Netgear doing when it comes time to AI? Before in the past, could really say much other than it's something we're working on, and now I can share a little bit more, not too much detail though, but guys, we are integrating some AI stuff into our product. And really the goal is to have this AI bot, be able to be a true digital IT engineer in the network product. We want it to be able to migrate, deploy, and manage your network while working with you and not fighting against you. And our vision, our AI vision, is not just to be like a chat bot, right? But one that you can actually understand, one that can understand your context and be basically, your trusted digital IT engineer, and to help augment and keep your team running as efficiently as possible, and also making sure the health of you and your customers' networks are great. So that's one way. We are introducing more AI, so be prepared for that as those kind of come out. When it comes time to the MSP platform, right? We've got this insight, but we are now working with integrating within your workflows to basically optimize your TCO, or total cost of ownership. And what that means, guys, really is we realize that you may want some of your workflows standardized across all vendors. Like an example of this is PSA, Professional Services Automation. And this is through like MSP's platforms, like you might know, like ConnectWise. And we're looking into integrating with these platforms. And we also want to provide open APIs so that many of our partners and a lot of the people who use to integrate with and with their workflows. So again, doing things more for designing more things for the MSPs, what more MSPs want. And then security, right? Security, we want to make sure it is embedded in the network, and it's not just added in addition to, but it's built into the actual network itself. And so we're integrating firewall capabilities in our routers. And we actually also plan to integrate security agents natively into other networking products like APs and switches. So over time, that when you have your security agents in each device that will gather behind this firewall and really making sure all the devices are secure no matter what they're connected to, whether it's an AP or whether it's a switch. And then when it comes time to AV and IT, guys, AV is big, and a lot of businesses are using AV, whether that's in conference rooms, whether that's in multiple displays, lots of different areas where AV comes. And we realize that AV and IT networks, they really need to work with each other and yet be protected from each other. The IT side needs to be protected from being overwhelmed by like the multicast traffic from AV, and the AV side needs to be secure. And so we plan on implementing some segmentation policies by default. So, like our security router between AV and IT, so that way you have peace of mind that they're separate and they're not hampering each other. And then lastly, the reliability with cellular failover. We're one of the few companies out there that actually integrate cellular access routers, both fixed and mobile hotspots with our Insight network. And so that, this integration, the goal is to be able to, in the unlikely event that like an AP goes down, the mobile hotspot will enable the same Wi-Fi SSID as it can detect and enable it through Insight. So it's still up and running and nobody notices a difference. And these are just some of the ways, guys. There's a lot more, but again, we just don't have the time to go over them all. But there's a lot of things that we're doing to be innovative and making sure we're staying on top. And when it comes time to trusting us, here's a good case study and a good use case that I love to share. There's a company called Hawkeye, which is a Sony owns this company, and they are very much into a lot of the sports broadcast, the sports kind of thing, like PGAs, MLB, NBA, NFL, those kind of companies. And they're using Netgear. They really are, guys. And we have a quote here by Kat Hayes. They're one of the network engineers. And they said some things kind of profound. They said, a quote, while Netgear is such a huge organization, there's like this really kind of small company kind of personal feel to it. And she then talks about, unlike traditional networking where you can delay a project and wait till it's the right time with something, unlike a sporting game, it's very demanding. It has to work. It has to work now because that event is happening right now and it cannot fail. And trusting Netgear in these types of environment is super critical and super huge, and they do. Again, just another way to say that we've got enterprise grade product when we're in these kind of companies. And it's not just like these kind of companies. This isn't just one use case here, but we've got quite a few examples of other companies, Five Guys, JP Morgan, L'Oreal, Disney is using and has Netgear products in their networking, whether it's going to be for AV applications or for IT applications. Kind of to summarize here, guys, we know the challenge in today's world with the SMEs, these CFOs of these companies, they're slashing budgets, right? And it's due to the economy and right, everything's getting more expensive. These looming tariffs, are they coming? Are they not? Are we going to be affected by them? CFOs are just now a little bit more hesitant more than ever, but CTOs or these people, they still need to know that they need to still have their network and continue to grow as their business grows. But they're doing so with just fewer dollars. And so that's getting them to look at other alternatives. And so that's where Netgear really fits because we've got that enterprise product ranges from our switches going up to 100 gigs and those enterprise grade access points, both Wi-Fi 6 and 7. And some things to remember with Netgear is we really are tariff resistant, meaning we've allocated or we've outsourced our manufacturing in different countries and throughout that we can really not be affected by any of these tariffs that are going on right now and that will likely happen in the future. We're also recession proof. We like to say that too because if the economy kind of totally collapses or kind of goes for a turn for the worst, those people who are still needing to making sure that their business is up and running are going to do so, but they're going to look at lower cost alternatives, which is where Netgear is. And then we've got this proven 30 years of proven performance to show that we can and do deliver on what the SMEs need. Last slide, guys, here too that I want to share. If you're doing anything AV, audio and video, and if your customers need any of this stuff or you're using any of this stuff, you'll definitely want to look at Netgear. Netgear's partnered with over 400 plus manufacturers. So this is just a small list, but we're partnered with over 400 manufacturers that are designed to work out of the box with these guys with a click of a button. We've got profiles specifically built for each one of these guys. And so if they've got this in there, if they've got this or they're using this and they're buying these products, then they're also likely buying a Netgear AV switch to go with it. So just make sure that you're the one to offer it. It pairs very, very well with peanut butter and jelly when it comes time to these things. It just goes well together and it just makes sense. So, all right. Well, thanks for sticking around for that, guys. Julie, I'm done here. Go ahead and open that up to some questions. Hopefully I'll be able to answer some. Just be gentle. I'm not an engineer, guys. So we'll see what we got in pending to be answered.
Thank you so much, Jordan, for that presentation. And yes, I've got a few questions here for you. Let's get started with the first one. Here we go. It says here, your ultimate guide to choosing PoE switches for video surveillance touches on SMB needs. Any emergent trends you've observed that you could share with us?
Yeah, definitely the more and more clarity, I guess. People are wanting more and more cameras that are 4K, 8K. They want pan, tilt, and zoom cameras, motion tracking, things like that. So cameras are just getting more powerful, guys, and the need is becoming no longer PoE or even PoE plus, but PoE plus plus or ultra PoE, as some people call it. Is that's the trend that these are going to. So as cameras get more and more powerful, you're going to need a switch that's going to be capable of having enough power to power these 30 plus watt cameras.
Thank you so much, Jordan. Next question here for you. The SME strategy includes unified wired and wireless architectures with simplified management. What does the architecture look like in practice?
Well, that's going to be through our insight when we talk about being able to manage these and have these all designed working well together. If you haven't, again, check out YouTube, and there's lots of videos of Netgear's insight that shows real labs and real live practice, as you say, of how these look like. And again, though, it's going to be getting updated here in the next 60 to 90 days. So just be prepared that what you're going to see, it's going to get still a little bit of a facelift. It's going to look cleaner and look a bit better, but it's still going to have the same functionality and still the same connectivity between and communication between both wired and wireless.
Thank you so much for that, Jordan. Next question here. And you talked about AI. So this says, what does AI integration look like in your SME products? Are there features embedded in the hardware, software management tools, or layered services?
So a lot of those, yes, and I can't talk too much detail, give out too much information on what we're doing, but yes to all those, right? I mean, we want to make sure that one, the hardware is capable of running and having the AI run on it, and so making sure the hardware is built to have that ability, making sure on the software level that like I said, the AI, we want the AI to be your trusted, basically digital IT engineer. We want them to be intuitive and want them to understand what the complexity of your needs and your customers' needs and what the network needs. And so it's something that we're designing and building that's integrating it heavily into our software and to our insight as well. So just be on the lookout, and it's coming down. Again, you should probably expect this, and in 2026 is going to be a great year for Netgear, guys. I promise you.
Thank you, Jordan. Looking forward to it. And I understand about the AI situation. And as you can reveal more, we'd love to hear about it. Next question here. Got a couple more for you. What are the biggest technical or operational challenges you faced in shifting toward AI enhanced SME solutions? Again, it's an AI question.
Yeah, AI, there's a lot of great things that's AI is doing, but we all still can kind of feel like whenever we get a response from AI, whenever we ask AI a question, it responds with an AI answer. I guess that's kind of a good thing, but in the flip side, when you're wanting to ask it about complex things like networking and the way that the network is configured or troubleshooting, we want it to give basically as non-AI answers as possible. We want it to be more like your digital IT engineer. We want it to be something that, hey, wow, this was able to find, and it found that there's a lot of channelization utilized on this band or on this Wi-Fi, and it wants to try to troubleshoot and put them elsewhere. We just want it to be more than just a bot, I guess, is the overall answer to that question. And so something that Netgear, again, why Netgear's hired so many engineers to really, when we release this stuff, we want this AI to really be more of an assistant rather than just a machine. You tell it to do something and it does it.
Understood. Thank you so much. Last question here for you, Jordan. Can you tell us again, I know you mentioned it in the past, some of the different locations, and I believe overseas, where your products are manufactured?
Yeah, I mean, they're really all over the place. We've got like Singapore, Thailand, and I'm trying to think of some others off the top of my head, but it's pretty broad that we learned, obviously, I think most businesses learn from COVID, don't just put it all into China and put them elsewhere. And so we've got a good foundation across multiple different countries. Singapore and Thailand are kind of the top two that come to my mind, but and Vietnam I think is another one, and there's probably some myriad of others that I'm forgetting, but those I believe are the main three.
Jordan, thank you so much for answering all of those questions for us today. And, you know, if anyone has any further questions after the webinar, please feel free to contact your sales rep or email us at sales@microcomtech.com. And if you wish to view any of the products mentioned or shown here today, please remember that this webinar presentation has been recorded and will be uploaded to our Microcom YouTube channel so we can all view it again. Jordan, thank you again for being with us. We're looking forward to what's going on with Netgear the rest of 2025 and, of course, into next year, which should be very exciting. So we're looking forward to that. Thank you, everybody. Have a fantastic day.
Thank you, everyone.